Hello and welcome to another tier list review. Today we are taking a look at the Call of Duty games. Looking quickly, you'll see that I've omitted a couple of them, you can say such as Infinite Warfare, because I simply haven't played that game enough to review it, but all these other games I've played at least the campaign and the multiplayers quite a bit, and zombies if it's in that game. And so those are the things I'll be looking at when I'm reviewing them. Starting off is Call of Duty 1. The original Call of Duty game, it was a good Call of Duty game, came out in 2003, I believe. Um, Nothing too crazy. It wasn't doing anything super special when it came out. It was just a good game. I never played the multiplayer for this, but I've played through the campaign a couple times. And, you know, whether it's the British, the Soviet, or the American sections of the campaign, it's just a good, run and gun shooter. Quite similar to the Medal of Honor games coming out around that time, I would say. Overall, it's good, but it doesn't do anything too special. And if you try and play it now, the graphics and the controls can be quite clunky, so I'll put it at the D tier. Up next, we have Call of Duty 2, which honestly, very similar to the original Call of Duty. You had the three different, campaigns where you're playing as the Soviets, the Americans, and the British. I would say just in pretty much every single element, it was an upgrade from the original Call of Duty game. And this one, I did play the multiplayer quite a bit, and it was pretty good. I believe on the Xbox that I played it on, you could only have 8 players in multiplayer, which was a bit disappointing since you could have up to 64 on the PC. But it was still fun even with those 8-player lobbies, fun to use the different guns, explore the maps. So I'll put it in the C tier. Up next, we have Call of Duty 3. I would say this is when Call of Duty really began to start making their name known to the gaming community. I mean, this game was phenomenal. The campaign was excellent. The controls felt great. The maps were fun. And multiplayer was great, especially the ability to play split screen multiplayer on the original Xbox. I mean, I can't tell you how many hours I poured into that. Just a great Call of Duty game. I'll put it in the A tier. Up next, we have the original Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Now, if Call of Duty 3 wasn't a big enough jump from Call of Duty 2, this was, I would say, one of the biggest jumps we ever saw in the Call of Duty series, from Call of Duty 3 to Call of Duty 4. I mean, you saw created class, kill streaks, new maps. The campaign, I won't say was anything spectacular. It was probably on par with Call of Duty 3, but the multiplayer, I mean, we had never seen anything like this in a multiplayer shooter game. I mean, it was a phenomenal step up. Another easy A tier. It might have sounded like I was gonna put that in the S tier, but just because it doesn't quite hold up as well as some of the other games, I'll put it in the A tier. But definitely a great game. Call of Duty World at War. This was harkening back to their World War II days after they released a Modern Warfare game, and they did a great job. I would say it wasn't quite as good in terms of multiplayer as Modern Warfare 1 was, but still really good. I would say the campaign was stronger than any of the previous Call of Duties, including Modern Warfare 1, very strong campaign. And then, of course, Call of Duty Zombies. I mean, I don't think that they knew what kind of can of worms they were opening when they released the Zombies. I mean, those became a smash hit. I poured so many hours into the original map before they released the other ones, and just zombies were great. The multiplayer was great. Campaign was great. But I would say the multiplayer fell a little bit short compared to the previous one. But the introduction of zombies was really spectacular. I put that one in the A tier. Up next, we have Modern Warfare 2. Now, this game is a lot of people's favorite game. This was pretty much Modern Warfare 1, but just turned up to 100. I mean, it was great. They added so many just great features. I mean, the selections of kill streaks, the perk system, all the attachments. I mean, it was great. It blew me away. This Call of Duty I've probably poured in more hours into than any other Call of Duty. Easy S tier for me for Modern Warfare 2. Up next, we have Call of Duty Black Ops, which was the first Vietnam-era Call of Duty that they had released. And while the multiplayer, I would say, was not as good as Modern Warfare 2, the campaign and the zombies were both spectacular. The campaign, I still think, to this day, is probably the most unique storyline that they have done in a Call of Duty game to date. And I think it is probably, I would say, the best campaign, just because of the real creativity they took with it. I mean, it was really good. story. Even the voice acting was really quite good for that game, and you never really knew what was going to happen next, and the twists and turns of that campaign were phenomenal. On top of that, some of the best zombies maps ever have come out from the Call of Duty Black Ops series. I'm going to be putting this in the A tier. Up next, we have Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. Now, I absolutely love this game. I mean, the selection of guns, there were so many good guns to choose from. I kind of felt like in other Call of Duty multiplayer games, there was 4 or 5 guns that were really good, and using anything else was, you were just kind of playing the game not the optimal way. But Modern Warfare 3, I really felt like you could take almost any gun, besides maybe the PM9, and you could make it work. You could make it competitive with the right attachments and the right perks. I would say this game really just took Modern Warfare 2 and fixed a lot of the issues, updated the graphics, new guns, better creative class system, I would say. Many people still prefer MW2 over MW3, but personally, I think Modern Warfare 3 is my favorite. It's also going in the S tier. Up next, we have Black Ops 2. Now, starting off with the campaign, it was the sequel to the campaign of Black Ops 1, but set a bit in the future. And I think they kind of lost some of the magic that they had in Black Ops 1. It was, their campaign was unique where you could create your class going into the mode. But I just felt like the storyline was lacking in a lot of ways, and some things just didn't really make sense. But the zombies, once again, just like Black Ops 1, were really, really good. I will say the multiplayer, it was about on par with Black Ops 1. So because the campaign was worse, the zombie and the multiplayer were the same. I think that's going to slot it into the B tier. Call of Duty Ghosts. Now, I want to say Call of Duty Ghosts is probably one of the better campaigns on this list. I thought it was really interesting, and the cliffhanger at the end, it really gets you, especially since, they didn't really conclude that. But yeah, the campaign was really solid, but the multiplayer, man, it is hands down the worst Call of Duty multiplayer I played to date. I mean, even just if I were to play a Call of Duty multiplayer right now, I would be playing Call of Duty 2 before I played Call of Duty Ghosts multiplayer. I mean, it was terrible. The weapons were bad. The perk system was atrocious. The kill streak system was bad. I really just have nothing redeeming to say about the Call of Duty Ghosts multiplayer. So even with a good campaign, the multiplayer slogs it down so much. I'm going to put it in the F tier. Up next, we have Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. Now, this is kind of where I feel they started to go away from the essence of the Call of Duty franchise. I mean, with all the futuristic things, the dashing, the super jumps, even just the guns and the kill streaks in the campaign, it all felt a little too futuristic. It felt like they were going for too much of a Halo or a Titanfall vibe, and it didn't have those same elements that I really like in the Call of Duty franchise, especially in the multiplayer. The campaign was still fun, but for me, it didn't feel much like a Call of Duty campaign just because of the futurism there. I think of the World War II campaigns, the Vietnam campaigns, the modern day campaigns. They all had that very specific Call of Duty feel, and I didn't feel that in the Advanced Warfare. So going into the game, if I'm not hoping for a Call of Duty experience, I would say it's a good game. But in terms of Call of Duty games, I think they really dropped the ball and went the complete wrong direction. I'm putting it in the F tier. Now, Call of Duty World War II. This is kind of their sequel to the Call of Duty World at War game. They kind of just remade the game with modern graphics and new and updated, game modes, weapons, campaign, and it was good. But they didn't do anything too unique. I think if you liked the Call of Duty World at War game, you will enjoy the Call of Duty World War II game. The campaign is good. Zombies, I would say, very good. And the multiplayer is about on par with the Call of Duty World at War. They didn't really do too much to innovate for this game, but overall it was still good. I'll put it in the B tier. Call of Duty Black Ops 3. The zombies for this one, I will say, were hard. I mean, there was just so many different things to do. If you try and do all the Easter eggs and all the different maps, I mean, it is extremely difficult to pull off. But I think that really gave a lot of longevity to the zombies. They introduced some things that I didn't particularly love, so I won't say it was my favorite zombies, but the maps were definitely really cool, really fun to explore and to look at. The campaign was solid, but nothing special, kind of like Black Ops 2 campaign, where I kind of feel like they lost some of that original magic they had in Black Ops 1. The multiplayer, again, nothing too special. It was good, but not great. I didn't really feel like they brought in anything new that was really great. I felt like a lot of the new things they introduced were just kind of there. They didn't really take away too much, but they didn't add much. So for that reason, I'm going to be putting it in the C tier. Up next, we have Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Now, this was the first game in many, many years that I really feel harken back to the Modern Warfare series, which you would hope being called Call of Duty Modern Warfare. The campaign for this one is kind of underwhelming. It was very cookie cutter in terms of, the storyline. It kind of felt like they tried to have a lot of the twists and turns and the action from the 3 original Call of Duty Modern Warfare campaigns and just cram it into one game because they weren't going to make a series out of this one. But I just felt like it didn't really work. The characters weren't that interesting. Overall, I was pretty disappointed with the campaign, but the multiplayer and of course Warzone. I mean, the multiplayer is great. I would say, probably on par with Modern Warfare 3. I personally like the multiplayer slightly more from Modern Warfare 3, but they did a lot of things right. They introduced a lot of new things that I thought were really good in Modern Warfare. And then of course Warzone. I mean, everybody knows how popular Warzone is. I would say personally, it's easily the best battle royale that has been released to date for any game on any platform. I mean, it's a ton of fun. I've put in a ton of hours, and I really think that they did a good job with creating the Warzone game mode. For that reason, I'm going to put it in the A tier because the lacking campaign and the kind of on par with what I would expect multiplayer slotted into the A tier. So that's my list. I'm sure many of you guys are going to have disagreements about where games go, and I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions, so let me know. Thank you.